Welcome back to Mac's Garage. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like, share, subscribe. It helps me out and I appreciate it. Today I'm going to go and do a little bit of an overview on a pressure bleeder system for brake systems. So the one that I've got here today is a Snap-on. The part number is BB71165. This is a, I believe, relatively new kit. If you're thinking about getting this, I'll kind of go over some of the things I like about it, some of the things I don't. And I've tried quite a few of these in the past, although I can't give you the names of them or anything like that. I do have some experience with this type of kit. Now, if you've not seen one of these and you're wondering why you need such a thing, if you try to bleed brakes on your own, it is a real nightmare. It takes forever. If you are the only one around and you're trying to bleed brakes, these things are pretty awesome. Do they work 100% of the time and 100% perfect? No. Are there other options? Yeah. In fact, I'll put a link like right above my head. There's a video where I show you how to use basically a stick to bleed your brakes by yourself, and it works. It just takes forever. This system is much faster. I've had this for probably 6 months now. I've used it quite a bit, but I haven't had a chance to actually make a video on it. I'm a little bit slower right now because it's winter, so I decided to take the time and make this video. So with this Snap-on kit, you get this thing, which I don't really know what to call it, your pressure tank, your brake fluid holder. This is kind of the everything that works in the kit. I haven't taken this apart yet. I don't really plan to, but that's kind of the main section of the system is this unit right here. Along with that unit there, you get a box of adapters. So these adapters do most of your pretty common US domestic cars, I mean, they're not all US domestic. You have foreign cars as well. But the common vehicles you're going to see on the roadways in the United States are in this kit. I would imagine that also applies to like Canada and other places close to the US, and I'm not sure about European or Asian countries. You probably have some slightly different stuff. But this kit is pretty good for your American cars. There's one adapter that I tried to order, but my Snap-on guy disappeared, and that was to be able to do older master cylinders on Dodges. And that's another note, like this doesn't have a universal kit. You can't really use it with cast iron master cylinders. I have a cast iron master cylinder, just a second. This would be your old school cast iron master cylinder. This kit does not work for these. The way these work is you take the top off, and this still has fluid in it. Awesome. So I can't tilt it because it's still got fluid in it for some reason. But the whole lid comes off. You don't really, there are adapters that fit these from other companies. I'm not sure if Snap-on has one or not. I haven't really looked. The reality is that these stopped being used in like the mid 80s, early 90s, and they're just not something I work on very often unless it's on a classic car, and then I'll get somebody to help me bleed the brakes. But if you've got a newer vehicle that has a plastic master cylinder, chances are one of these 6 adapters will fit it, and if not, they have 2, 4 more that you can buy, and then there's probably a really good chance you've got it set at that point. So the one that we're going to use on this Ford behind me is a number 2. There's a handy little chart to help you pick out which one you need, and I'll bring the camera in here and kind of show you how that goes on. I guess before I do that though, here's another thing that comes with it. This is our collection bottle. So you put this on your bleeder screw, brake fluid runs down the hose and just kind of goes into your collection bottle. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I use a drain pan. Kind of your call on that one. But it's here, so I'll show it to you. Got the camera kind of wedged back in, like the hood is right here. So you're back in the corner. This is your master cylinder. I've already got it topped off to where I want the fluid to be, because if this system works properly, the fluid in here doesn't actually change as the brakes bleed out. So I'll grab our adapter number 2. In this case, they seal a little bit different depending on the adapter, but there's an O-ring around the outside. If it's dry and you've never used it before, just a touch of brake fluid on that lubricates it up so it will drop down inside. These do go in pretty hard, so you've got to kind of work them down and then twist them. And once it, that one didn't go down quite right. Okay, so once that locks in, those make a real nice positive seal. We're gonna go ahead and connect the hose up. While we're under the hood here, before I move the camera, I'm gonna go ahead and put our quick connect from the hose from our bleeder apparatus and clip it into place. Now just make sure you set your cap somewhere where you're not gonna lose it while you're doing this. You go to use your pressure. When you're ready to actually hook this up and get it working, what you'll do is you'll take your air hose, which you have to put your own fitting into here, so get one that works with your system, and plug it in. Now on this, there is a valve that is probably turned off. That's not allowing any fluid to go into the system yet. I usually leave this upper valve, which goes out this tube and up to the vehicle, just plugged right in. Another thing that I've done, which I didn't show you, is I've filled this up with fluid. So the fluid level is up probably about here. That seems to work pretty good. And now we're going to go ahead and give it some air. So that pressurizes this lower system. There's a bladder inside here that also gets pressurized. This cap, make sure it is on tight or you will have fluid flying out of it. So we've now got this pressurized, and there's fluid, or there's pressure at least, in this hose headed up to the vehicle. To use it on the car, we're going to bleed it in the same sequence you would if you were doing a pressure bleed. So I will start at the passenger side rear and kind of work around the vehicle from the farthest from the master cylinder to the closest. So we'll go passenger rear, passenger front, driver's front. And at that point, I have some stuff that I do that I'll show you. Okay, so up under the car, you find your bleeder screw. That one's right there. You put your wrench on. Then if you're going to use this bottle, you connect it on. Oh, that's not, whatever. That'll go back into place. And then we've got pressure on it, so all we're going to do, and this one should actually flow pretty quick. I let these drip out. So you should be able to start to see some fluid going down through the hose. And you can see it at this end. If you tilt this hose up, you'll be able to see air bubbles as they come out. So we're still getting a bubble here and there. But for the most part, we're getting nice fluid. One of the things I'm going to do on this one, and one of the things this system is nice for, is the brake fluid in this truck was pretty nasty. So I've already pulled all the fluid out of the master cylinder, put fresh clean fluid in, and I'm going to let this run for a while and run some fluid through the system to get a brake bleed. So once you've bled enough fluid through here where you've got no bubbles and all that stuff looks good, I ran again more until it looks pretty clear. Like there's fluid in this hose, but it's clear now. So this truck had some brake hang up issues and kind of overheated the fluid. Go ahead and do that on the other 3 wheels, and then I'll show you the part that I do that maybe is a little bit different. So here's the trick that I've kind of learned with this system. After you've gone through and bled all the brakes that you need to, take the pressure off the system. You can just kind of disconnect that air hose and get into the vehicle and just pump the brakes, 4 or 5, 6 times, whatever you're going to do there. It seems like it's fairly often when you do this, you'll get a little bit more air out of the system. So I think it maybe gets trapped in different areas in the calipers or whatever. And by pumping it up, you not always, but kind of often will get a little bit more air out. So after you do this, go back through and re-bleed those brakes. Now we've essentially bled the brakes twice. This truck, I let it run for quite a while to kind of flush the fluid through, but it's time to disconnect this system. So I actually had that turned off already. But what you'll do is you'll go ahead, I'd usually turn that valve off, disconnect the air hose. I've actually got this one off right now too, but normally I would leave this hose just on. After I disconnect the air hose, there's two things that I do. There's a little section here, you pull on that, and I usually just open the air valve as well. It seems like there's two chambers in here. Again, I haven't taken it apart to test it, but I'll open the air valve and this bleeder on the back here. Then I also just leave this open, and you can maybe see there's some fluid returning back into the pressure tank here. So once that air is all bled off, we'll go ahead and close that back up, close that up, and just disconnect your stuff up at the top, put your factory cap back on, and then you're good to go. That was the how it works section. I guess at the end here, this is kind of my review of this product. I have used quite a few of these from different companies and different styles over the years. And this Snap-on one is like double the money or more of a lot of them. And I'm not disappointed with paying double the money because this thing works a lot better than any other one that I've ever used. It doesn't seem to leak. It doesn't seem to do all the annoying things that you had with the other ones that I've tried. It would be nice if they had some adapters for older vehicles. Maybe those will come later. As of right now, when I bought this, this was still a fairly new tool from Snap-on, I do believe. I might be wrong on that, but the guy that I bought it from, my tool truck guy, seemed to think this was a great brand new thing. So maybe it is, maybe it isn't. He just kind of got here with it at the right time, and I needed it. If you're in a single person shop, if you're working on cars quite a bit by yourself and you're doing brake work, this is definitely a worthwhile investment. Where I'm at, I do a surprisingly large amount of brake lines still. A lot of places don't really have brake lines, but even the coated ones seem to rust out up here. So brake lines, calipers, hoses, I do a lot of brake work. So this makes sense for me. If you're doing a lot of brake work, get one. If you're not doing very much brake work, maybe get a stick like I showed you the link to earlier in the video. So I guess that's about it. Thanks for watching. Hit that like, share, subscribe. I know I said it at the beginning. I'm saying it again. And I'll see you later.